welcome to the LANCave. We're living as nerds. I'm Patrick, joined by Owen.
Hello!
And we're here giving you the gaming news, trying to figure out different things in life as we move forward and try to prioritize things. We got a game.
Oh, really?
We got a game. We got to be an adult sometimes.
What are you trying to figure out right now in life? What's conundrum number one?
How to manage these cables and get
Cool.
the video to look even better for our show. That's kind of my two-parter. And then I got some work stuff, but that's boring. You don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, the work stuff. I got some work stuff, but I come across these times where I'm stressed out, right? And when I get stressed out, I like to shop. I don't know about you. I just it's not a healthy habit or anything like that, but I get into these moods, and I actually haven't played a video game all week like I normally would. But I was like, you know what I don't have anymore? I don't have a working Vita. And so I was like, I'm just gonna go shop for a Vita. And I go on GameStop.com and I'm playing around, and I do this thing sometimes if I'm about to make an expensive purchase. I'll leave it in the cart. I don't know if you ever do this.
Yeah.
I leave it in the cart. Yeah, and then I came back and it was gone. Like it was like, these items are now gone from the cart, and I was like, oh well, now I have to buy it because now you're denying me. So then I go on eBay and I find a blue Vita, and I'm like, well, this looks cooler anyway. So I've ordered a Vita from Japan.
That's why it's taken so long. Okay.
Yeah, then I'm expecting in 2 to 3 weeks because they got to put it on a plane or a boat or something.
Yeah.
To ship it over here. But there's something that got into my head. I saw a post of somebody doing some share plate of Vita, and even though you can do that to the phone, I was like, I have a 16 gig Vita card. That's already like $50 right there. I might as well stick it in a working Vita, right?
Yeah. Was it under 100?
No.
Okay.
You can't find it for under 100 anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one thing that like people were selling for relatively dirt cheap before, but now,
and I'm now faced with this thing because I found out, as of course there probably is. I just should have assumed, but I was looking at, I was like, what game should I buy for the Vita? And then I came across a Reddit. Apparently, there's a pretty heavy modding community in Vita land. The Vita is a very modded console, and so now I don't normally do that, but I'm in this like space where I'm like, should I? Where you want a project like you've been doing, right? Like you've been hanging all this stuff on your wall. It looks so cool. I was like, should I do a project where I mod my Vita, like that I just bought and have no reason for owning anyway? So as soon as I get it, I might start modding it.
That sounds like a fun project, though. That sounds like something that'd be cool. Like I've considered it with the Wii U. There's the PS3 is not as easy to mod.
No.
But I've considered it with the Wii U. But I've got the classics, so I'm like, I could mod it to play that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, the modding community is pretty cool, especially the Xbox. But I didn't think about the Vita. So does it do emulation and a bunch of other things, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. Like you can play anything on it, anything that you would want to play on it, which is where I'm not as much, but there's this cool thing that I found. You know how the memory sucks, right?
Yeah.
Like it's proprietary.
Crazy expensive.
Somebody made a cartridge, so it's a fake Vita game cartridge that has an SD slot in it.
Oh, really?
And if you have a modded Vita, you put the game cartridge in your Vita, the SD card in that game cartridge, and you can expand your Vita a lot.
That's kind of cool.
And I was like, I should do that alone, right? If I can still access the store. That's the biggest thing, is I still want to be able to buy PSN games, because I like spending money. I like giving publishers money, and so if it can do that, I might mod it just to expand the memory to like half a gig or like half a terabyte or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. Like I was thinking emulation wise, but because if you are purchasing games, the shuffle of hard drive space, of SD card space, is rough. You and I were talking about this earlier today with the Wii U, and you got Breath of the Wild, and you're saying it was 10 gig for Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, 13 on the Switch, but the Wii U has 32 gig if you get the deluxe, or you got the Zelda one, which is 32 gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Zelda one.
32 gig operating system, I think, is like 2 and some change. So you're left with less than a third, less than 2/3 of the remainder. That sucks. I think we're gonna get that with the next generation of consoles. We're gonna have more of that than we did before.
Yeah, I think that's true, and it was weird to me looking, because just since you've been busting out the Wii U, I have a Wii U sitting down here now. At some point, I gotta find a place to put it.
Yeah,
we've been talking about that, but like, they were like, you can expand the storage, but Nintendo recommends a hard drive with its own power, and I was like, are you talking about a zip drive? Like, is this 1992? A hard drive with its own power? What are you talking about? So that's apparently it's a hard drive that'll have like 2 USB plugs, and so you plug one into the Wii U for storage, and then one. And I was like, what?
Yeah. So I thought I was gonna say, don't think I sent you a Polo about it. But I was going through a bunch of stuff in my office. Like, I've got like boxes of like cables, electronic cables and stuff, and I found an old hard drive, and I threw away the case already. It's an old hard drive, but it's essentially a 3.5 inch SATA hard drive inside of it, like the same size as the desktop. It's the same connector, and the housing basically just supplied or converted SATA to USB 3, and then it had a AC adapter you had to plug into it because it had to power that hard drive. So yeah, it doesn't make sense if it's a decent hard drive, and I can't remember the term for the kind that are coming out. But I have a couple other like 2 terabyte hard drives here that are powered and transfer with USB 3. Is the Wii U USB 2? I can't remember.
I don't know. I mean, are you saying, does it have USB 2.0?
Yeah, I was thinking, does it have? I don't think
you know they didn't put 3.0.
3.0, yeah. If it had 3.0, I bet they would have solved this problem with 3.0. But Nintendo's not going to do that.
Have you seen the Switch screen? They didn't put a 3.0 USB.
No.
I mean, I'm not speaking with any authority on the Wii U whatsoever. I just am assuming. I'm sure we can find this out.
I was going to say, Google that real quick. But yeah, like while I rant, like I literally like. I couldn't find
the Wii U doesn't even support USB 3.0.
There you go. So it's 2.0. So yeah, I was literally looking at the hard drive, and I'm like, I couldn't get essentially I couldn't get an adapter, an AC adapter to like. I needed a 12 volt AC adapter, and I couldn't find the one with the right wattage. The hard drive wasn't kicking on. So I'm like, either it's a hard drive problem or my power supply. I can't find some weird proprietary power, so I just cracked the sucker open because I'm like, what are you gonna do? Once I realized what was actually inside, then I cracked it open, which is funny because I think that hard drive, I mean, it's a 2 terabyte, but I want to say that hard drive was like $200, like $250, like when it was originally, I didn't buy it, it was gifted to me, but like they were expensive when they came out, and it's just a old school hard drive.
I'm looking at upgrading my PS4 Pro hard drive when the PS5 comes out, just for, again, whatever. No real reason. It's fine. Like there's some times where I think something might be wrong, but maybe it could just use a good cleaning. But you can get a terabyte SSD like Samsung Evo like for $130.
That's not bad.
I was like, when did I like? It's not NVMe, but like it's not going to take
advantage of PS4 Pro's not going to take advantage of it. It'll take advantage of some, but it's not going to be that much. And you and I are a little different in this. Like I download a bunch of games so I can have like an array of things to play whenever I sit down, because sometimes I just don't know what I'm in the mood for. You basically have the game that you're playing currently and maybe like a couple others, because you don't keep a lot on your hard drive, right?
No, I mean I have a 1 terabyte hard drive, so I keep it pretty clean. I try and leave myself anywhere and it's a weird OCD thing. I try and leave myself around 200 gigabytes of free space at any given time, that way, because I have a habit of I think we've talked about this on the show before. I don't use the PSN store on PS4. It's garbage, and it's garbage online too, but at least it's functional because you have a mouse. So I do literally 100% of my PSN shopping through the computer, and then I have my PS4 in standby, so I'll buy something and hit the download to PS4 so that it downloads while it's in standby mode and goes faster. So I always leave myself space, no matter what, so that I can drop a game at any given moment. I'm going to buy something, you know, and you find out that like Battlefront 2 is like 60 gigs and you're like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, I got space for it, I'm fine. Yeah, I mean, so I've got a 2 terabyte and I want to say I've got maybe 400 available, so similarly, but like I put tons I think I've got like 40 some games on there right now, and some of them are like ones that I'm like, Whitney might want to play this. Like I'll like download a bunch of Lego games and stuff. I
have Dragon Age on mine just for for when Cassie's gets in the mood. You know, it hasn't happened recently just because of work and mom and stuff. But like at some point she's going to be like, you know, I need to play Dragon Age Inquisition again. I'm just leaving it there. It has a permanent space on my home screen.
And then you just hand her the controller.
Yeah. And then you're like, me and the kid we'll go hang out.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Exactly.
No, that ain't no problem.
You get your time. You give her some wine or something. And then, it's good stuff. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. Speaking of like playing games, have you been?
Oh yeah, do we talk about games?
We talk about video games on here too. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima.
I haven't touched it.
I'm not gonna lie. I will say I've not played The Last of Us 2 yet, so I know that people. I was in like an online argument about this. I think this is the best game I've played in the past like 2 years or so. It is very good. It is addicting in the classic Assassin's Creed way of like, you're like, cool, I helped that one guy out. I've got 3 more missions that I didn't have before, like The Witcher and others. The gameplay is really good. I think the combat's better than Assassin's Creed. But one of my favorite things, I'm sure you've seen this in like the videos, but like the way that it guides you to your mission, like 'cause you select whatever mission,
like the wind, right?
It's the wind, and you can even adjust, like if you want it to be like more subtle or more like in your face, you can adjust when it does gust. If you're like, I just want a little, or if you're like, no, really remind me, you can, and then you can swipe on the PS4 pad. You swipe up and it'll gust for you.
Did you turn it all the way up and start singing Pocahontas?
No, I did. I think I have it. I can't remember if I have it.
Sorry.
I was gonna say we can do some karaoke later. But yeah, I really love it. Every single time I pick it up, like there's something fun. I feel like the depth of story is just as deep as I'd say Assassin's Creed or Red Dead Redemption, where the characters that you see, it feels like a living world. I will say this one has less of the characters because most of the people that you see are essentially like running away from the Mongols. So
as one does.
Yeah,
you always run away from the Mongols, guys. If the Mongols ever show up,
but I will say, like, not to steal it, but Jim Sterling was in his review was talking about it, and he was like, "This game made it so that when I see a bandit camp, I'm actually excited." And it's one of the most cliche things in gaming. There's a bandit camp, okay, and he's like, "Oh no, this is going to be fun," as opposed to like the cliche that it is, and either just plowing through it or griping about it. So
you're not the first person that I've heard just talk about how fun this game is, and I think that's what's weird about this game, where it reviewed well, by the way. Like, it's in the 85, which some people are like, oh, it's trash. No,
numbers
that's a good
are catching up with Last of Us 2 already,
and there's several people that are like, this is my game of the year right here, like, and there were some where they are coming off The Last of Us 2. And that's where what's interesting is like, when you look at The Last of Us 2, like, I don't think of The Last of Us 2 as much as a game. Like, it's definitely a game, right? It's a video game, but like, there's just something different about it, where they were like, this is a video game. This is like what I wanted. This is, I want, like, I feel awesome in this game, and there's stuff. And so everything that you're hearing, I've heard it a few times now from people like whose opinions that I like. These are people that I know personally. Like, it's just interesting hearing it from multiple people who are like, this is the best game I've played all year.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you hit it on the head. This is a game. So Last of Us 2, sure, it's a game. It's about the experience. In a similar way, where the Telltale games and others, like, there's gameplay elements to them, but it's more about the experience. It's more about your journey. This definitely has the journey, but yeah, it's been really fun. In, like you said, just unapologetically, like, we're gonna be fun, and as violent as it can get, it has a nice balance. They have this really violent stuff going on now, and then these really beautiful, vibrant, oversaturated like fields. And Whitney was like, I don't know, it looks too cartoony to me, like, when she saw it, because it was just so surreal. In the like going through like the poppy fields and stuff, because it looked like Assassin's Creed and Breath of the Wild, like it was like closer to that kind of cartoony feel, but in regards to that, but what we're seeing here is not that, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know, like, anytime I've only watched a few seconds, I guess I can see it from, to me, I think that's almost like a compliment to how good the background looks, though, right? Like, there's a point to where we've talked about where, like, there's only so realistic that you can get a video game to look. And
like this, like the sunshine or the moonlight right there. It's just like,
I mean, the game looks great.
Beautiful. To me, it's like they took it and they were like, all right, let's blow it up a little bit. I
really hope that they, because I'm hoping to get to it this year, that because it's sitting on my PS4. I just have to be in the mood for it. I just didn't want to play an open world game right now. I'm hoping, though, that because this was like one of the last games made, that it also gets PS5 enhanced. Because imagine looking at this game in 4K, like 4K 60. I bet it's gonna look dope.
That would be amazing. I mean, I would love it in 4K 60, but I know it's going to, even if it doesn't hit that number, even if it's just like the lighting's better, the textures are better, and maybe, it's the like 1440 or whatever, like you're getting close, you're a little bit more, like, I'd be happy with that. But yeah, the game is smooth. The combat, there's different, it's encouraging you to not only play the story, but also encouraging you to explore. So like the more, and this doesn't give anything away, like the more like camp leaders or whatever they called, like the more that you take down, more that you kill, like you unlock different stances, like sword stances. So like if you just did the main story, I mean, I can imagine you'd probably get to a point where you could finish the game and you didn't get all of the sword stances just based on that. And the different sword stances like are better against different enemies, which is like, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. And quick segue, I also love G4. And okay, you sent this to me. I was like driving at a stoplight and I saw G4 and I'm like, wait, what? This is G4 is back, is the news, coming back next year. All we don't know how yet. We don't know how. It's got to be some type of streaming. I hope that it's not just a YouTube channel, but it could be something like YouTube and Twitch, like they could broadcast on both. I don't know. I hope it's not just that. I hope it's something more. But if they have enough personalities and enough, enough good programming, this is going to be amazing. The problem is now they have to compete with everybody else. Everybody else is streaming content. When G4 went off the air, IGN was a thing, but like there's so much gaming content out there, like us and other cool people, like they're gonna have to compete with those individual creators as opposed to a brand. So I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is I wonder if they're really trying to compete in the streaming space, or if, I don't know who owns them, to be honest. I don't know who owns the brand at the moment. I didn't look enough into it, and I probably should have, but I don't know who owns the brand. And so what's interesting is, what if it's owned by one of these like TV companies, right? Because G4 was a television station. That's the difference between like an IGN and everybody else, is that G4, what made it so great is that this was like our gaming life was actually on television, which was the hardest thing, and then it was playing cops, but when it wasn't. But what if it comes back, and I'm being slow because I was trying to figure out who owns it.
So
Comcast owns it.
Comcast,
yeah, NBC. So what if it's on the Peacock, dude?
Dude, if it was on the Peacock, I'm gonna get
something that you can get me to at least give you a little money towards. I'll go for the basic Hulu version where there's commercials, because if you give me G4 TV on TV, like, I know I don't watch as much TV anymore, but that's awesome. And what was great about seeing this is I sent it to you immediately. If you went on Twitter and saw, like, there were several hosts that were like, what? And some people were like, you have to bring this person back. Like, I saw Jessica Chobot where she was just like, they know where to find me. And so the fact that there's at least some of them, I know Olivia Munn's probably like, no, I'm way beyond you, but there's probably enough people there. She is and
she's not, because she hasn't been getting as many big roles, and like, she actually is a gamer, so she may actually be like, yeah, actually that might be fun to do. Maybe she'll do it for considerably less than what she could have asked for. I'm not saying she's gonna do it for free.
Oh yeah, she's not gonna do it.
No.
She was Psylocke, dude. Like, she may not be doing anything the past few years, but
she was good at Psylocke too. I will say I didn't like a lot of that movie, but she was good at Psylocke.
Did you see how Xavier Woods threw his name in there?
No, I didn't, but snag him. Like,
for those who don't know, he has his own so he's a wrestler, but he also has his own YouTube channel, Up Down Down.
Dude, he's touring, so they do, like, depending on the week, it's like they could do 3 shows a week, sometimes 4, depending, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 televised, 2 that aren't televised. Obviously they're not doing that right now, but he was doing that and was streaming in the hotels, like bringing his laptop. I don't know if you saw the video of, like, his laptop that he brings with him. He has a suitcase that's just his gaming rig and, like, his laptop and, like, all his streaming equipment, because while he's on tour doing that, he gets back, and either before or after doing the show, he's streaming and playing video games, because he'd be playing video games either way. I'd say snag him, because he would still be, he is competent enough that he'd give you good content, and he'd make sure it was out there on time, because he understands, like, that timely matter of getting content to you. So I don't know if he's going to stream with them, but totally as a I could see them using, like, him as, like, a correspondent in the streets or something like that, him just random places. That would be funny, like, as a comedic bit. But either way, yeah, he'd be good content to it'd be good content creator to
I think I saw just going back to some of the Morgan Webb was like, I'm just surprised somebody remembered the password for the Twitter account.
That's good. Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those COVID things where I was just like, what is this year where you get G4 just popping back up? Not to play the negative side of it, it probably crashes and burns. Okay, it's probably not something that's going to be, like, huge, but just the fact that it could be, and the fact that they could use that brand again, I think is potentially awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I wish them well. I'm gonna watch, and of course we're gonna talk about it. Also talking about other things, with other news coming out. Xbox heavy this week. That was Phil Spencer. It was a developer. Sorry, I almost said Phil Spencer, but one of the Halo Infinite developers was talking about, like, essentially the hardware and, like, the tech not holding them back this generation. And I laughed, and then I thought of the pitch they had for the Xbox, the pitch that they had for the Xbox One, which was, you have the hardware and then you have the cloud computing, which didn't end up happening. So is that what he's like? That was just weird. I'm like, the technology is, like, what builds this. That's why we're buying and why would buy an Xbox. If the technology didn't matter, I would go buy a junk laptop and play these games. And
you'd be able to with xCloud.
You could, yeah, with xCloud. And I really hope that the more that I think about it, the more that I really hope that your prediction of Lockhart being a streaming console, like a little dongle, even like, if it's not, doesn't have to be like a small dongle, but even like the Apple TV size kind of thing.
Something with a hard drive, like with an SD slot or something.
Yeah. If the Xbox Lockhart is that, I'm gonna get it. Like I think I'm gonna, because of the if the games are able to be played on either, which means that more than likely you have to buy them digitally from the store. But if I can stream my games via the xCloud technology, and I can stream games that eventually will not be on Xbox One X, I think I buy that.
I now had this like brief thing of like something that's like low powered, like I don't know. There's so many ways that this can go. Every time I think about this dongle thing, because you mentioning this Apple TV makes me wonder. I'm like, because an Apple TV has a hard drive, so that means you could probably download some apps onto it. Yeah. What's the extent of what you would be able to put into it that you could play locally? Like, could you make something low powered enough to where you could play some stuff offline? But that's just a Series X, I guess. But
that'd be a Series X. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, since they're taking the One X off the market,
mm-hmm.
there has to be that in between. Like they're going for like an all digital that's maybe as powerful as the One X, like that maybe has the new hard drive,
and that might do it. If it's all digital, it's and it's as powerful as a One X. That console will last you probably 4 years in regards to new games.
Oh, look at the Switch, baby.
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, before Microsoft says we're not going to make games for it anymore. So essentially you would have 4 years of new games, and then you'd have a backlog of games. That's not bad. It's obviously not what you'd want if you're wanting like a real long-term investment. But yeah, if it's going to play all of that, and it's going to play all my back catalog, then it may be worth it for the cheaper console. In knowing that is an interim console, which we knew. I mean, you have the PS4 Pro, I have a PS4 Pro. We knew that was a intergenerational update. Like, I didn't buy it thinking it was the PS5. I was like, I love my PS4. I'm going to love it even more now because I'm going to upgrade. So if you look at it that way, that it is your entry into the next generation of consoles, I don't think it's a bad thing.
What's weird to me about these comments is just that it continues to push this like narrative, right, of why do I buy your thing? If you're not being held back by the hardware, are you taking advantage of the hardware? Like, are you, because I know that for a lot of developers, there's a lot of developers out there that are just going to have some really good running games on PS5 and Xbox Series X because that hard drive is great, that graphics card is great, and they don't have to do anything fancy. They're just like, hey, your game loads fast. Here you go. And I think that there's going to be a lot of that. But whenever you're talking about the first party and you're saying I'm not being held back by the tech, it's just a really weird comment to make, because are you taking advantage of it then? Because then you look at the PS5 side of things and you look at Ratchet, for example. And Ratchet is obviously, I say this in the nicest way possible because we know I love Insomniac and we know I love Ratchet. It's a tech demo.
It is. It 100% is. If you and I really hope that I hope it's priced at that. I hope they take the humility out and they price it, but they're not. It's probably $60 still. I'm gonna buy it though.
No, I think it's gonna be a full game. It's just, I'm saying, and that's why I'm saying it in a nice way. They're showing you this is what you can do with this hard drive. I don't know everything about that game yet because I'm curious if that game is going to run at 60 because it's too busy taking advantage of what that dope new hard drive can do. But that game is a tech demo of saying like, this is what's possible.
Yes. And there's some good tech demo games like that were that were games that were also like Knack is, I think, a good one for PS4, like where we know that they were just 100% trying to get particle effects like pushing, which is interesting. I'm actually gonna I'm creating a document, by the way, of like PS5 to Xbox Series X stuff. I'm gonna create another one, as we were talking about. We wanted to look at previous generations. I'm gonna create a document to go over like to look back at you want to talk about looking back at the PS4 generation, maybe the PS3 and Xbox generation, Xbox 360. I'm going to put in like the buzzwords of the generation into the document just so we can kind of get some nostalgia, because like this is all ray tracing. This is all about ray tracing and hard drive speeds, and like last generation was particle effects. So,
and honestly, I was thinking about ray tracing this week. That I think is going to be the new toggle, right? So on PS4 Pro right now, you have performance mode and you have visual mode. So in performance mode, you can run your games at 1080 60. And then if you want the visual, you can run 4K 30. Now what's going to happen in this next gen, and you better do it, Ubisoft. This is where you get to be forgiven if you do this with Valhalla, but you can say toggle ray tracing, turn it off, you'll get 4K 60. If you turn your ray tracing on, you get 4K 30 with ray tracing.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that at all?
I do, because ray tracing, regards to how heavy it is on a system, again, talking about like generationally, shadows used to be like a big thing, and you would toggle that like in PCs, like how much shadow effect do I want on here, because that's taxing, or water, like, you know, how do you want the water effects?
Spider-Man,
right? So like, well, did you, by the way, you saw the comparison to like what it's released at and before. So so that was something that like you and a lot of PC games that you could toggle depending on your rig. Like you might be like, oh well, I don't have that great of a GPU, so I'm gonna turn off the shadows and or turn them really low. So doing ray tracing with that would be, I think would be very advantageous, and companies that do it, I think they could get more out of the hardware, which I really hope. I hope that they're like, I love pouring into settings because I'm a geek. So like, I love if I pull up a game and it's got like a couple pages of settings that I can go through, especially on PCs. But with PCs, you're tailoring to your hardware. If this hardware is already relatively spec'd for the game, then yeah, it's just a question of what kind of experience do you want. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. So you're saying 4K 60 versus 4K 30 if you turn on ray tracing on and off?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering what's going to hold a game back from being 4K 60 when this hardware is technically capable of it, but ray tracing is the new hot.
Yep. So
ray tracing is a very taxing thing, from what I know, and I'm a software person. I'm not a hardware person, so I this is a layman's opinion, but I assume that it's super taxing.
It is, yeah.
That it's hard to do both. It's hard to get something running at 4K 60 with ray tracing turned on. I just assume that is a hard thing for a machine to do. I don't know. Somebody could maybe educate me on what level PC, like how much money would I have to put into a PC where I could consistently run 4K 60, no drops, like nothing, like never dropping below 60, and running ray tracing on a thing. It's like, tell me how much that PC would cost.
Yeah, I'd like to know that. It obviously would depend on the game, but yeah, I'd like to know that. I've seen some people building rigs where they were like, here's a mid-range like gaming PC, and it was like $1,400-$1,500, not including like Windows. Like that's just the hardware. So yeah, if these consoles are $500 or $600, I don't think they're going to get the 4K 60 consistently that we wish that they got. So it's all going to be about what else you bring to the table, like what else can you do. But at the same time, like you said, like what if you dial that back? Like could you hit 4K 60 if you turned down one of those settings? I don't know. I think that Halo Infinite needs some polish, though. I'll say that.
And that's what's completely weird about the reverse of what we were just talking about, how like they don't feel held back by the hardware. And first of all, like Halo Infinite looks fun.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it looks good. I'm gonna play it on my Xbox One X.
I feel like they're adding something new, doing this open world aspect after a little bit. Like I think that's cool. But it also got a little bit of heat because it looks like an Xbox, like not even a One X game. It looks like an Xbox One game.
Yeah. I think that part of it, and one of the developers, which is our news article here, is basically they were defending the look of it. First of all, this was not even running on an Xbox Series X. This was running on a PC. So you're not even running it on the hardware that it should be running on. It should be being optimized for. You're running on the PC instead. I don't think that means it's going to look worse, but I definitely don't think that it's polished enough. They were saying that visual updates are going to come and add ray tracing, because there's no ray tracing. The textures look everything looks really smooth. Like, it's not, which depending on the game that you're playing, that may not be a bad thing. But with Halo, and for them to talk about how great this should look, it doesn't look as good as it should look. It looks like it plays fun though. I mean,
it looks like it's going to run great. And I think it's funny that he was like, there was a quote in there specifically like, this is still in development. I'm like, how is it still in development? How long has this game been in development, guys?
5
This
years?
game has been in development forever, and you're telling me that this isn't as good as it's going to look? You're a liar. This is as good as this game is going to look. Now, they did go on later to say, like Patrick just mentioned, that they are going to release an update after launch, a visual improvement update. Why am I not getting that at launch, Patrick?
Yeah. No, I agree. It should already be updated with that. Or if I don't understand where he's like, well, you'll get an update at launch. Well, you don't have this. Like, you can't even show me. Like, and I'm at the same time, like, we want it to be accurate representation of what we're going to get. We don't want a debacle like there have been many games, and honestly, the Spider-Man one that we were talking about just earlier in the episode, there are people who were upset about it, and that game is amazing. Like, no pun intended. That game is wonderful, and there are people who have, like, side by side, like, here's what it looked like in the demo that we saw a trailer for, or we saw a gameplay of, and this is what it looked like in actuality, and it was a downgrade. I didn't feel it. Like, when I was playing the game, I was still enjoying it. I didn't feel like I got a downgrade. But if anything, you should be showing me as good as it could look, especially if you're playing on a gaming PC, all in on ray tracing, all in on textures. Show me how great this can look, and then get the Xbox One X up to it later. Like, that's what didn't add up to me. It's like, why aren't you? I get you're adding it later, but you could, maybe for optimization reasons, you're not doing it now. But if you're running on a gaming PC, show me that beta right now, and just say this is beta.
Yeah. I just don't get it. Like, and maybe I'm completely wrong, because there has been reveals before that the game does end up looking better at launch. But whenever I'm looking at this game, like, it looks fine.
It looks like the previous Halo. Like,
it looks fine.
Yeah.
And again, like you mentioned, it looks fun. Yeah. Like, it looks like it's going to run very well. The gunplay looks good. Who doesn't love a grappling hook, right? Like, everybody loves a grappling hook. That you add a grappling hook, that instantly, like, ups your fun factor by a level at least 10, right? I don't know, like, I get being offended by the criticism as a developer, but, like, if you know what the game's going to look like, why didn't I get the trailer? Like, out of all the trailers and this is the main one that we saw of gameplay, why was this not the best looking thing that we saw? Why did we not see, like, just amazing, blow my face off visuals? I still don't understand that. I get that they're going to update it. It's probably going to look better at launch. It's just that, like, to just say, like, this is still a work in progress. Like, to me, though, every time I've seen, not every time, but there's a lot of times I've seen a game, it looks better. Like, you brought up Spider-Man. It looked better before it came out.
Sure. But it played really good, so that when you're actually playing the game, you're gonna enjoy you're enjoying it. So gameplay can add some rose-colored glasses to your to your play, because it's so, if it's so fun, your mind fills in those gaps. Like I've been playing some, because I have my old school stuff like hooked up now. I say old school like because this is about to be 2 generations old. I played some stuff on PS3, and when I first started playing it, I was like, wow, this is like kind of jagged, and I can see some stuttering, and then I started playing, and just a few minutes into it, my brain kind of got used to what I was seeing, and I was enjoying my gameplay anyways, and I forgot that it wasn't like obviously it's not a PS4 game, but I was not thinking about it as being that old, when it's just barely, it's not even 1080 on some of the stuff that I was playing.
Sure. No, yeah, like there's gonna be some things, and like Spider-Man still ended up looking great.
Oh yeah.
It was just that, that's why I made the joke on my own Facebook about like I want to see those glorious puddles, is because that was the big joke. It's like how good water and stuff looked in the demo. And so what I'm thinking about this though is like, in this case, they're saying it's going to look better than it did.
Yeah.
And with big games like this, most of the time it looks better before. So, they're just trying to keep the expectations low on the visual so that they can blow us away later. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did see a comparison, and I was thinking in my head, and I was researching, because whenever I looked at this game, I was like, Doom 2016. That game came out 4 years ago, and it looks better than this. But then
you're totally right. Yeah.
Somebody then made the point on a few different articles. They were like, if you go back and look at the 2016 E3 reveal of Doom, it didn't look as good as it did when it launched. And so I'm hoping it's like that, because I was comparing it to Doom as it stands right now, because Doom 2016 is a good looking game.
Yes.
It looks great. And apparently, and I had to go back and watch the trailer. I was like, okay, it didn't look as good in the trailer. And so impress me, Halo. Go for it, 343. Like, you've gotten a lot of crap since you took over Halo. Some of it deservedly so. But bring it on. Again, the game looks fun, and so I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to play it on xCloud.
I'm gonna play it on my Xbox One X, because it's going to be playable on that. This is a unique console. What's that?
It'll be just as good on Xbox One X. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah, so this is a unique console generation because Xbox is banking on xCloud and Game Pass, and a slow adoption of the new hardware, to then I think that Xbox Series X is going to look great in like 2 years after console, 2 years after launch, right? I think it's going to look good, and it'll probably look even better 4 years after, when people not only get their hands on the new Unreal, but like really tear into it and figure out what it can do. These games are going to take quite a while to develop, and games that you're developing for hardware that is this, you just now know the specs for, not to say you couldn't be doing that, but it's easier. You're going to get more bang for your buck, and you're going to know what the limits are if the console's already out, and you can have a good test kits for it. So yeah, I think that from a hardware standpoint, I think the Xbox One Series X is probably a more powerful console, which I'm not the only person who thinks that, because Gabe also thinks that. Gabe Newell was asked, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, like he's been in New Zealand since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So like he got there and he's like, I'm just going to stay while everything's going on.
One does.
So they asked him like, which console do you want to get, which console do you want to get? They asked him which console is better or something. He's like Xbox Series X. And then every answer that he gave was all about how it was to develop for, how easy it's going to be to develop for. And from a multi-platform perspective, 100%, it's going to be a great console. But if from a multi-party perspective, do I want to buy both consoles, which I did, I may end up doing, do I want to buy both consoles just to have the best experience on them? Or do I have one console that gets those multi-platforms and the exclusives, and maybe I miss like 2 exclusives in a generation? If Xbox isn't giving me those those tied to this hardware, and I can play it on my PC. Why buy Xbox Series X? That's kind of how I'm feeling.
For those who don't know who Gabe Newell is, if you listen to us, you probably do. But he's the CEO of Valve and co-founder of Valve. You know, the little company they run this like distribution platform. It's a little Steam. So just in case you didn't know who that is, not everybody's like in tune with the nerds up there. So you know, he's a pretty big deal. It makes complete sense. You know, he's talking about like, okay, well, I want every game that they're going to make. Theo, so yeah, of course, I would rather them make games on Xbox because that means I can probably get them onto Steam, even though Xbox has its own marketplace.
But you can get them onto Steam. They're easier. If he wants to develop a game and put it on the Xbox Series X, it's going to be easier for him to develop for. It is a more powerful console. It's also easier to develop for. Of course, that makes sense. So I mean, I'm not the only person who brought this up, but Gabe also said back in the day that he thought the Wii U was an amazing console. Like that was like,
I think the Wii U was an amazing console.
It was. I agree with him. I agree with him. I love my Wii U, hence why it's in this office and it's on the wall, or it's about to be. I loved it, but it was not successful. So just because it's the best hardware, it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. In the Wii U's case, it was good hardware. It had good games. Didn't have enough games because, Nintendo's I think that they confused third-party developers on this. And a lot of third parties were like, well, why do I want to develop for that? Because it's not the next gen, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons we could do a postmortem on Wii U, but I just wanted to bring it up to say Gabe is not a soothsayer to say this is what the future is going to be like and this is the winner. He's just saying this is the one that I like more.
It's a nice boost for Xbox though, because now we've had 2 billionaires, and Gabe Newell is a big billionaire, and then we had Sweeney from Epic say that excited about the PS5, and so there's this evenness of like, here's some big dogs that don't necessarily have a dog in the fight, although now Sony does own a very 1% stake, by the way, just it's only one. Probably, we don't know officially, but it's probably a 1% stake in Epic. But then again, Sony just released Horizon Zero Dawn on Steam, so there's plenty of money to be made both ways. But I think it's interesting. I think that there's definitely some help with our nerd media pushing those console wars. I think it's fun that they were like, what are you buying this Christmas? I think that is a fun thing. It doesn't surprise me at all that he would pick Xbox because of the reasons that you've said, and because I still don't know if I say like, more powerful is just a weird word, because that's what they always tout, and I guess it could be like
straight up numbers, more teraflops to the CPU, the GPU.
It's just a weird argument whenever you're talking about like, that's what it is, but why is Valhalla running at 30 FPS on your console? Like, that's what I don't get.
I need to track how many times you can burn Valhalla like in an episode.
I'm not gonna get it until I don't understand. I'm still mad about it. I'm gonna be mad about it until somebody else like makes a good open world game at 60 FPS and they're like, suck it, Assassin's Creed. I just don't understand. I'm so upset.
No, I totally get you. I'm gonna get it. I mean, partially because I want to play it, and partially because that's like Whitney's series is Assassin's Creed. So like, I'm gonna get it. Like, even if she's not ready to play it like at launch, I'm gonna get it and have it ready for her. But yeah, it's gonna look good on Xbox Series X. So like, I don't really have to get the Xbox One X. So I don't have to get the Series X. This is just confusing.
You know what I'm ready for though?
What are you ready for?
I'm ready for
August. So
it's coming in August for sure, most definitely. It's going to happen. They just won't say it. Events.
Rumors. Some are have more weight to them than others, but the rumors are there'll be another Xbox event, which honestly I think that they need. I think they need. They did say, by the way, that they would have events every month, or they would have content every month. So it makes sense for them to have one in August. I also think they need one because the July one, it just didn't have the momentum that it needed for this new console. And there's I meant to put it in the news in our news notes here, but they did a survey of gamers on the next generation, like how many of you plan to buy a next generation console, and it was 50% of the people surveyed said they want to buy one within 3 months of launch. That's big. And the PS5 was a huge majority. I want to say it was like over 70% were saying, well, yeah, I'm getting PS5. I can double check the numbers, but it was like it was overwhelming majority for that. And part of the reason for that is that these games because like we said, like the games, generationally, it's not, you don't have to get a Series X. Xbox needs to show us more to get us to buy it. And I'm all about having another event, and Sony may be doing that as well.
They're definitely going to do it as well.
I think that we will get, and I know that you already set your dates down, but I think within a week and a half of right now, we're going to have a price of at least one console.
Okay.
And if I
so you buy the podcast next Thursday,
I would say it. I hope I have a feeling in my gut that it's going to be by the podcast next Thursday, but I feel like it may be like just a few days later. Like we'll do the podcast next week, and like you'll find out about it like the Friday or Monday, like right after. It's very imminent. I don't think they'll do it on the weekend.
The rumor is, and we had a rumor before, right? We had the rumor on the pre-order, and they said that they would give us plenty of time. But the rumor is that August 6th, and the next podcast date is August 6th for PS5. That is,
yeah. So that would be amazing. I really hope. So that's when we get price. We get pre-orders. Like, what's the rumor?
No, that's it's just the next event is
okay.
That's the August state of play is August the 6th.
As I mark my calendar for that possibility, and make sure that I know that right after work, that's what I'm doing. Another thing that this is not rumor territory, this is leak territory. There were some images that were sent out leaked of the PS5, which are, I don't think this is necessarily means that they're going to offer it, but it looks like the plates, the white big fins that are around it. If you look here at the little nubbins, let me zoom in a little bit here, so you can see there's little nubbins here on the plate.
You said it was a nubbin.
Exactly. So those little pieces right there are going to slot into, if you've opened up a PC hardware case, these are what these are for. This is obviously not the exact same thing, but that's so you can slot that plate in to the unit once it's together. Now, PlayStation and Sony have been more okay with people modding to an extent, modding your hardware, in that you can put in whatever hard drive you want in the PS3. Like, they allow really easy access to it. So the rumor is that these plates will be interchangeable. And I'm not going to say that Sony's going to tout it, but I give it 3 months before it's able to be 3D printed. If it's not on the market, someone's going to 3D print those.
Well, yeah, and actually, the reason why this makes even more sense when you put this in the docket was I was looking up cleaning the PS4 Pro, right?
Yeah.
And apparently, they made the PS4 Pro like way easier to clean. Like, you don't even have to unscrew anything. Like, I haven't yet to do it because I literally was just reading about it this morning before work. But apparently, you can just like it takes a little brute force, but you can like pop the top off of your PS4 Pro so that you can blow some air through it.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, I assume then that there has to, like, somebody has to have made like custom PS4 Pro like top plates, right? And so if that's the case, maybe they, but since I read about that this morning, now it makes me wonder if it's like that for PS5. Are they doing it for cleaning purposes? And so,
for cleaning purposes, I'm fine with that. And if it's for cleaning purposes, we're going to have people who mod them. Also, if you don't want to like mod your own, you could slot those off real easy and then have them painted, or paint them yourself if you know what you're doing to make sure it doesn't, it doesnn't overheat. You could totally pop that out and have a black PS5 or blue PS5, whatever color you want. I think the white's kind of cool with the white with the blue and black. But yeah, it'd be really cool to to have that interchangeable. You could have multiple ones that you could change out, you know, if you feel like a red mood or whatever.
Yeah, I think that it's good if they add that. I think that it's good for one, because on the PS4 regular, the original, to take that thing off, you void your warranty. Yes. Like, you voided it by taking that screw out, and so you had to wait for your warranty to run out before you would want to clean your PS4. And that thing is a jet engine, so you want to clean it at some point. But I think that honestly, I think that that's probably what it is. I think it's probably they're making it easier for you to clean your PS5. Mm-hmm. But if they're making it to where you can do different plates, sweet, I'm in. Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, and speaking of that, like, I totally need to clean my my consoles, but like, these have been like the Wii U and the PS3 have been in like a box for like over 2 years, where like not used. So I booted them up and everything's fine. I totally need to make sure the hard drives, like, whatever I can do to defrag and optimize them. But I guarantee if I pop that open, like, it's going to be full of dust. And I'm going to avoid the warranty doing it, but it's way out of warranty anyway. So I feel like I'm going to pop that out. And I actually read online, people were saying if you're doing that, they're recommending for the PS3, like, that you can replace the fan relatively easy, relatively. Oh, cool. And they were like, it's quieter and it'll keep it cooler. So I'm like, that may be my project, where I pop that thing open while I'm tinkering around and cleaning it out, that I replace the fan. It's, you know, very little, either it's tiny bit of soldering, or you can do it with twists. I'll have to see how they recommend it. But yeah, relatively easy.
Check in later for our coronavirus projects on what we're doing next.
Some people break bread. Some people are baking bread, and now we're just taking apart our consoles.
At some point, what you should do for the channel is, after you get everything sorted, you should turn every console on and do like a little live thing with your webcam and just showing you switching between it, and like that hours of work, man. Make sure you show it up.
People might want to see it once I get the cables to look a little better, because it's the Switch, it's the Wii U, it's the PS3, the PS4 eventually will go in here, but all of the same setup, I can swap the cable real quick and play one of my classic consoles, and it's like all ready to stream, it's all ready to play. And I realized the Elgato software, if I use that to stream, the Elgato software full screens completely. If you mouse away from it, it'll full screen completely. So I don't have to use a separate monitor. I still have another monitor specifically for audio, but for the video purposes, I think that'll work pretty well.
I thought you were going to play it where you play it on its own monitor and then stream on another monitor.
Yeah, that's my next step, is to figure out the other convoluted thing, which is going to be to all of these consoles run through an HDMI switch. But the convoluted part that I'm going to try to make sure it will make it work is that the PC will run through the same switch that then goes into the monitor. So I'm toggling this monitor will be my PC. Almost always, and then when I switch, that monitor will change to whatever I'm playing here. This monitor will switch to, so my broadcasting software and chat will be like over here. So gotcha. That's what I hope will work. But when I tried it, when I was just checking the software and everything, I realized like, I can go full screen. It wasn't great, but it worked. I beat 2 bosses in Demon's Souls, so there you go. That's not bad for a game that needs as low latency as possible. Sure. The audio was slightly delayed, but it wasn't too bad.
What are you guys doing right now? What's your gaming setups look like? What do you? I know that there's some of you guys that had to just start messing around with stuff. What are you messing around with? I want to know. Let us know.
Yeah, are you tinkering with a PC, trying to upgrade? What have you ordered on Amazon that you totally don't regret that you splurged on for your setup? Let us know. Yeah, let us know in the comments. We'll see you later.
Hey, bye.